cannot talk about law now since my guy, I don't want to be accused of whatever infraction. But on page 13, Armed Forces, we are going back to Aburi, regional control of armed forces. We miss the discussion when we talk about the Constitution. Listen very carefully. We miss the discussion when we overemphasize on a Constitution. The real issue, as far as I'm concerned, is, do we want to be together? It's a very important question. What makes you assume that Nigeria must exist? Because it was amalgamated in 1914. And since its amalgamation by force, no one has asked the question that Bola Ige posed. What makes you think that we want to be together? Think about it. The second question would be, how? That would be the second question, how? And I think that is the essence of this gathering. But I disagree that the emphasis is the Constitution. It's not. It's a big mistake. It's not. And that's perhaps why the 9 constitutions have failed. The real issue is, how do we want to be together? A constitution is the product of a political arrangement. We must first have a clear identification of the sub-national groups. We need to look for them, talking to the sub-nationalities. And remember, that was the point Chief Enaro kept making, that the owners of Nigeria are the sub-nationalities. They're the ones who will ask the question, do we want, as Bola Ige said, to be together?
We've been told right now, I didn't even know that part, that it was handed over just before a particular time. So basically, I have been right all along in my belief that it was written and then handed over to a Yoruba son. So as they believed, and who at this day, the people that have always been maybe unknown to us, I believe unknown to me and my people for a very long time, how deceived we have allowed ourselves to have been in the South. But I've always felt and wondered how my people, my leaders, my fathers could have gone ahead past all the 5 Southeast states, past the Middle Belt, and stretched out so extensively to find brotherhood with people that we had very little in common, if anything at all, in terms of religion or culture or language. But I think it is coming to hit us at the right place. I don't know if it's at the right time. I think it is actually quite late. So I believe that the amalgamation is the burden that Nigeria carries and will continue to carry until we are ready to address the issue of the amalgamation. And very simply, the issue of the amalgamation is what we are discussing. Bringing together people who had nothing in common, still have nothing in common, either religion, culture, or in dreams and aspirations. Our founding fathers have done their bit. I believe that we must do our bit. It is our turn to do our bit.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please permit me to stand on existing protocol. And like have been said by earlier speakers, all of us here are agreed on the need to reconfigure what we have managed as Nigeria. And my task, as I told the conveners when they invited me, is to try to convert this event into a transactional meeting that will set in motion something that will begin to put timelines and crystallize processes that nobody can stand against, because we can see there is a majority. There's a majority that is now speaking and thinking aloud about their situation. They are called Nigeria, Nigerians, that the space is called Nigeria, but in their heart, they believe it's an imposition. And I'm secretary of an organization that is called the Lower Niger Congress. I'm also co-convener of another organization that is called Movement for New Nigeria. The map of that new Nigeria is the map you have on the paper that you see. And in terms of what to do, to get at that reconstruction that has become inevitable, whether we are keeping the union or we're doing away with the union, so that it's not an indeterminate suggestion as it's been since the days of Aburi, because the meeting that went on in Aburi was to see whether we could take Nigeria back to the federation it was agreed to be. And from that time, all kinds of efforts had been going on. And when I looked around the hall as I came in, I saw a whole number of people who have been in this task for so many years. And we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to get that task, to some logical conclusion. Professor Gundo Wale that spoke before was, along with myself and one other person, in the team of rapporteurs who dealt with these questions amongst the ethnic nationalities of Nigeria at PRONAPO. In 2007, it fell on me at the request of the plaintiffs to file a suit challenging the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution. And we went on to that filing, to that step, as an enforcement mechanism for what was agreed at the Conference of the Ethnic Nationalities of Nigeria. That is to wind up the Lugadian Nigeria that is not working for us. And when you had plaintiffs that included Enohoro, who moved the first motion for independence, and Ojukwu, who had gone to war over the issues arising from these discussions, and the Soyinka, who was locked down throughout that war. Many young people here do not know it, that he tried to get in between the parties, and he got locked down into detention for raising an alarm about ethnic cleansing that was going on, and so on and so forth. We've come to where that choice has now to be made. Is it an election anchored on that constitution that will deliver that choice to us at this time? I don't think so. We come back to what my brother Olisabakova mentioned about Bola Ige, that raised the question of how do we resolve this issue. There are two legs to it. Do we want to continue in this union? If the answer is yes, and nobody is going to go to answer that question on behalf of any group, the Yoruba will have to decide in-house, and the Voice of Reason has said so in the past. The Yoruba have to decide in-house in the referendum, conducted however they do it, to first commit to wanting to continue. So also the other blocks. The two organizations I'm associated with, the Movement for New Nigeria is a aggregation of all the groups that are saying this is not working for us, and they have grouped themselves into 3 blocks to look at how they create the internal cohesion in their various blocks as the formation to proceed in that discussion. The Lower Niger Congress, which is dealing with the eastern part, realizing there's an Ogoni, there's an Ijaw, every one of them entitled to their their right to self-determination on the issue. Because all the demands, in case the president does not know, in talking about mischief for those who are discussing restructuring, the demand for restructuring or the campaign for restructuring is a campaign for equity. Anybody who is opposed to it is the one that has to examine himself. The campaign for restructuring is a campaign for equity. Having said that, there was something that happened many years ago that gave me a formula to address some kind of difficult questions that do not present many options. As a copper, I was driving to the east many years ago. The express had a problem in the Benin area, just the area before Benin. I went off from the express road because of how it was to those narrow paths, and then some electrical faults developed with the car. I stood there for 2 hours trying to flag down who might help. Everybody was, increasing their speed as they came back. It's okay. I began to push the vehicle to these narrow bridges that do not have railings. Just as long as that vehicle was there, nobody else was going to pass. It took me some 30 minutes to be able to get to the next place, and I left it there. I pulled back. The first set of people that came from the two sides made frantic U-turns, convinced that armed robbers were. Eventually, they found some police patrol that came with them with all kinds of trepidation. These robbers must be well prepared to have occupied the place for this length of time. Night was coming, and I wanted to take a different kind of risk than the one that would befall me if night meets me. They got there, and then found a way to. I made sure they didn't suspect me from afar as having anything to do with the situation. So I came, casually, and told them, I'm the one who did this. At the time they were searching to look for the robbers where they were laying ambush. Long and short of it is that problem did not take more than 5 minutes to solve, because one of their people, the leader of the team, some of them were angry because you needed to see all the radio messages that led to their coming there with armored. So the leader of the team was quick enough to say, look, let's not blame the young man. They escorted me to Benin, and that was how that problem was solved. Concerning this one, I've spent the last 20 years day and night on this issue. There's hardly anybody here who hasn't been involved at one stage or the other. Therefore, I decided that the better thing to do was to dig into the archives, find out exactly, like doctors will do, the diagnosis, the correct diagnosis will lead you to a better prescription and then a viable treatment plan. So we dug into the archives and found out things, WikiLeaks style. Anyway, we found out things some of our fathers did not know. And when an Enohoro, who was part of how it was all negotiated, could say, we did not know. When, I'm sure some of us know Bankoloki, a whole number of them, many of them are passed on now, it became clear that we had to take it from that angle. There's something on the front page of the flyer you have. The problem we have is like a marriage that has come to where, the spouses, either one or the two, now, and it was a mass wedding in 1914. And therefore, the solution model we have devised in these two organizations, take its bearing from the fact that this union was imposed on us as a marriage of the unwilling. And now we are all feeling the impact of this clash of civilizations that the British imposed on us. Now, the amalgamation we're talking about did not happen overnight. It took many years. But by the time it was ready to go, here is Lord Harcourt in a cablegram to the Lugard, who was to execute it. He says to Lugard in a 1913 cable, December 31, he said, we have released northern Nigeria from the leading strings of the treasury. The promising and well-conducted youth is now on an allowance of his own and is about to effect an alliance with the southern lady of Means. I have issued the special license, and Sir Frederick Lugard will perform the ceremony. May the union be fruitful and the couple constant. The British that put us together were very clear-minded in their thoughts, because it was a criminal enterprise, it was a business enterprise for the British. They paid £865,000 to the Royal Niger Company of the time to take over the territories and turn this into what has become Nigeria. The oil of Niger Delta that Mildred talks about was already in contemplation. Many of us do not know that Nigerian oil was sold for more than 50 years before Oloibiri was declared in 1957 or 6. I have documents in our possession showing what has transpired. And so many such things that we were told the opposite of what the truth was. And therefore, we say, now that we've come to this difficult first stop, like that woman who has found herself in an abusive marriage, and there can be no worse abuse than being killed in the manner that we're being killed by the same set of people all across the place. That woman who has come to where she has to decide whether she wants to live or she wants to die, to sustain the marriage or to let the man go of the marriage, she can pack her baggage, go back to her father's house, and take the discussion from that. That formula that saved me that day on the way to Benin is what we must do now. The owners of Nigeria, the ethnic majorities of Nigeria, can insist that we do not have a constitution that we made. And having said that, organize ourselves, be willing to carry on. That it is when we get a yes, and it can only be by a referendum. Let nobody deceive anybody. It can only be by a referendum of the people. No politician is going to answer that question for any group. When they get that yes, we now go to the question of the terms of being that together. Because if you jump over that term, that agreement, you will remain where you are and sink deeper until it explodes. And it's heading to where it can explode. We remember that in 1953, the motion for independence was moved, and the North of the time blocked it. What was their reason? They said they were not ready, that the South was ahead of them, and that if the British were to leave, that they would be exposed to unfair competition in which they would just have to trade. It took 7 years from that point to the 1960s to allow them the level of autonomy demanded by Ahmadu Bello. There were 8 points he listed as things they must have in order to become a part of that federation. Therefore, what everybody else is asking to be done now, this restructuring, is to return to that level of autonomy under which Ahmadu Bello was prepared to submit the North into a union of Nigeria. The constitution that emerged in 1960, people, I get ashamed when lawyers, some of them, professors of law and senior advocates, come to talk about drafting constitution as this. No, before you go to the question of drafting constitution, a federation is a union of constitutions. Nigeria became a federation because the constitutions, like the countries of Germany and France and Portugal, discussing whether they could become European Union. That was the kind of thing that happened in those 10 years leading to 1960. The Constitution of Western Region came in 1957, am I right? Yes. The one of the East followed. The North came in 1959. These 3 constitutions, with their full sovereignties in their hand, went to Lancaster House discussion. Correct me, elders, if I'm wrong. It was in Lancaster House that they decided what they would, mandate the center to do for them. And it became the basis of drafting a federal constitution for the independence, with those 3 constitutions as the federating unit, with all their sovereign powers and authority contributing for the upkeep of the center. By 1966, of course 1963 came, the Midwest had become the 4th one by plebiscite, and eventually those 5 constitutions that defined the Union were toppled by the military intervention of 1966. From that point on, the meeting that happened in Aburi in 1967 was to see whether we could go back to something that would refloat the ship of state. And they came back and abandoned it and went into bigger dates. It's been one imposition after the other. The one we call the 1999 Constitution today was the first staff commissioned by Murtala Mohammed in 1975. Immediately they overthrew Gowon. They got lawyers who had to draft for them. Unfortunately, it was our brother, Rodney Williams, the commission, and he had to look for people who do it for them, with him. He found our brother again, Ben Wabweze. It was Ben Wabweze that crafted what went to Constituent Assembly. The reason Awolowo stayed away, and I'm telling you this from those who discussed it with him, Bankole Oki. The reason Awolowo stayed away was that the draft that Constituent Assembly was to endorse had already been made out. Of course, Murtala Mohammed had been killed in '76, and Obasanjo, who is their own man more than he's our own man, had to carry through. In fact, the Constituent Assembly did not accept the states that were imposed in 1967 as basis of the union, because that was where we lost our federalism completely. The Constituent Assembly did not accept the presidential system because it will accumulate power like we have seen now. So many things the Constituent Assembly did not accept. The Land Use Act, you all know what happened. The land tenure system in the north is one in which everything belongs to the emir and he gives to whoever he pleases. They have transposed their civilization upon us in going to appropriate all the lands under that land use act, and so many other things that centralize everything to where they can dictate who gets what. And by the time the Constituent Assembly finished its business, on the 24th of September 1978, I'm sure many here will remember that Obasanjo went to the national broadcast to introduce 17 amendments. Everything the Constituent Assembly recommended that were not in tandem with what was handed over to that Constituent Assembly were removed. And we ended up with 79 constitutions that became 99 when they just added the few states that they had. So this is where we're coming from. And therefore, in going to Court 2007 to say we have not made a constitution, it is to say there is no federation. There is no federation. You cannot anchor this claim and the right to do all of what you are doing on a fraud in which my signature was put on a document that didn't make, expropriating me and giving you power of life and death over me forever. And we say, at this moment, we can insist that we cannot renew our enslavement by going to a further election unless we raise a question, a dispute that will now have to be resolved one way or the other. They will ignore us, go to the election, buy 4 more years. And what we see in Jos and Benue will be child's play when it moves beyond where it is. Are we prepared to go to renew our enslavement and endanger the generations unborn further by going to election under this constitution? If we are not, is it not within our reach now? Because the man who is on the side of the Ike Gweremadu, I'm sure many of you saw that, he said it can be done in 3 months. We can insist now. That's the lever we can bring to it. That 3/4 of the country, the brown, the black, the blue, and the purple, as you see on that map, is able to stand as a new majority to say that we will not go to another election under this constitution. If that question is raised today, in less than 1 month, we will be at the table of discussing whether we are continuing as one union, and if yes, on what terms, before we begin to discuss any election. South Africa came to this, bumped up in 1990, Federal declared, announced that they will have to decide a new thing. We are not taking one alphabet from that constitution from which they draw all these powers. And if they think guns will resolve it, I can only wish them good luck. Thank you very much.
Applause, please.
When I got the invitation, I asked myself, is it the same Voice of Reason that I saw the newspaper, who placed the newspaper advert in the, who placed an advert in the papers a couple of months ago? And he said yes. I happened to be one of the young people that were vigorously sharing that newspaper advert on Twitter and Facebook consistently for days and weeks. Especially because their slogan, was something that I thought, my friends and I thought I was long overdue, just because I'm 34, and many of my friends of my age range, many of them a lot older, some slightly younger, are worried about the future of Nigeria. And we thought that a lot of our elders were just sitting down, doing nothing, people who are the kind of influence that can change the destiny of Nigeria, but simply just strange bedfellows sitting down, stealing our money, making policies that would eventually destroy our future, ensuring that we continue to lounge in unemployment, not worried about the fact that the quality of education that we get as a generation does not, cannot, in any way, and will not make us competitive with even young people of our generation in countries as small and as close as Ghana. And so I titled this short presentation that I have, "They Are All Criminals." And I called it "They Are All Criminals" because my elders and my brothers and sisters, Nigeria is in injury time. I find that I've grown up 34 years in a country that I would comfortably describe as a corruption enterprise. A country where, for no reason, we wallow in the self-denial and in the lie that we are the giant of Africa, when in fact, all you need to do is remove the GI, and whatever is left is what we truly are.